Joining me now is the leader of the federal NDP, Jagmeet Singh. Mr. Singh, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much. Pleasure to be here.
Okay, 1 month ago, it was a Wednesday. It was after a caucus meeting, just like a Wednesday today. 1 month ago, you said that you strongly suspected that the Trudeau government was hoping to trigger an election and possibly on a confidence vote like the budget. You said, quote, "We are not going to trigger an election. That means any confidence vote, we will keep the government going," unquote. So today, 1 month later, where do you stand on this upcoming budget? Will you vote for it?
Same position as before. Our goal is to make Parliament work for people. We were sent here with a minority government, and we are going to work to make sure Parliament delivers the help that people need. People need the vaccine right now, and we are going to continue to force and push this government to deliver the priority of getting everyone vaccinated. That is the #1 goal.
So does that mean you're giving carte blanche to the government? I mean, some people said a month ago when you said that you've sort of given up any, in political terms, negotiating position.
Well, it's only negotiating if the other party doesn't want an election. If they want an election, there's really not much negotiating. So what we're up against is a lot of clear signals from the Liberal government, from Justin Trudeau, that he wants an election. And we are not going to give him one where he can blame the opposition. We're going to use our position, as we have throughout this pandemic, to fight for the help people need. We were able to double the amount of support to families through CERB. We were able to get help to students. We were able to bring in paid sick leave. These are all things New Democrats fought for and won for people that happened outside of budgets, didn't happen in confidence votes, but they happen throughout Parliament. That's what we're going to focus on doing.
So there is nothing in this budget that could make you not vote for the budget?
Well, again, it's a matter of priorities. And for us, we don't think this is a time to go to an election. When we've got vaccines on the horizon and people want to get vaccinated, when we've got variants that have upset the election in Newfoundland and Labrador 3 times. We believe the right thing to do right now is to get everyone vaccinated and not to have an election. So we are not going to trigger an election. We're going to fight for Canadians and deliver the help that they need.
Is there a political risk to that? I mean, could some of your constituencies say you're basically giving the carte blanche to the government?
Well, not at all. Again, if a government wants to work with us and deliver the help that Canadians need, we've been here from the beginning to do that. But if the government's looking for an excuse to go to an election, they're not looking to negotiate, they're looking for an election. And we're not going to give them one in a time when Canadians are worried. I was thinking about my parents, and if my parents get a vaccine, how much I would breathe a sigh of relief. And I know many, many Canadians feel the same way. They want to know that their vulnerable loved ones are safe and are vaccinated. That's what Canadians are worried about right now.
Okay, there was another interesting question put to you at a press conference this morning, or at a scrum this morning, and that is if there is this issue, and as we know, of the pandemic and of health concerns, in terms of purely health COVID concerns, when will be a safe time in terms of public health to have an election?
Well, the 2 major things we have to look at, public health advice when it comes to making decisions, and secondly, I think the easiest and obvious answer is when everyone's vaccinated. At least at that point, we know that people will be protected from the most severe symptoms of an infection. So that's important. Everyone being vaccinated, following public health guidelines should be the 2 ways we base our decision making. And really, even after that's achieved, I'm still going to find ways to make Parliament work because that's what people sent me here to do. I'm not trying to find the calculus around when is it best for me to go to an election. I'm trying to get help to people in their time of need, and that will always be my goal.
Okay, I want to ask you about another issue which is big today, and that is reports from both the European Union as well as from India. Once again, questions being raised about the reliability of our source of vaccines. The EU is again talking about being vigilant in terms of assessing exports of its vaccines. We get vaccines from Europe, from Belgium and from Spain, but especially the AstraZeneca vaccine. There's also questions about India, which is reportedly saying it's concerned about its domestic need for vaccines and it's reevaluating some of its exports. How concerned should Canadians be about a vaccine supply for Canada?
Sadly, very concerned. And this is something that is very much a Liberal government failure. And I take no pleasure in saying that. In fact, I'm sad to say this. I want the vaccine to succeed. I want Canadians to trust in the vaccine, and I want them to take it. But the reality is, because the Liberal government failed to secure the local domestic capacity to produce vaccines, we will always be at the whims and uncertainty of international logistics and production. That's why we called early in this pandemic for the capacity to not just make the vaccine and critical drugs locally, but also to own that the way we once did with Connaught Laboratories. We need a publicly owned, Canadians owned capacity to produce vaccines. So we're never again in this position. And even still, we need to see the Liberal government move towards making sure we've got that capacity locally.
Now, Mary Ng, the Minister of Small Business and International Trade, has said that all of her counterparts in the European Union, at the European Commission, the people she had spoken with the last time this came up from Europe, have assured her that Canada will not be affected, that the concern is mainly with Britain, with export quotas to Britain in terms of European vaccines. You're not, Suash, you're not comforted by those assurances, which proved true the last time around.
Well, really what's going on now is this ongoing uncertainty that really erodes public trust, and that's why I'm worried about it. Anytime there's delays, anytime that the vaccine doesn't come on time, it means more Canadians start to doubt whether this is actually going to work. And any public trust that is eroded means less people might take the vaccine. And that to me is a big problem. And that's why I have to continue to focus on how important it is for us to be able to produce this vaccine here in Canada. We're one of the world's largest economies. There is no justification or excuse why the Liberal government couldn't make the right decisions to make sure we had that capacity in the first place, right at the beginning of this pandemic when we knew it was a problem. Steps should have been taken then. The UK did something very similar, and now they have local capacity. They weren't in the same position. They were in the same position as Canada, didn't have that local capacity. They ramped up. Canada needs to make this a priority.
Okay, well, listen, I want to thank you very much for speaking with us.
Thank you, sir.